I can only ask people to do enough so that 10, 15, 20 years down the road on your deathbed, you will not have a guilty conscience and look back and say, I should have done more. Because some people don't have the money to travel to an event. Some people can't stand. Some people, they, for whatever reason, they're blown into debt and they can't afford to lose their job. So they say, you can. There's ways around this. But they can't. Okay, fine. But if you have the ability, you need to do enough so that you do not have a guilty sense of conscience later when you're looking in the mirror at your minority of one. When you're thinking about who's representing you and what your votes are counting for. Don't be ashamed of that. So let's start wrapping it up here. That flag. What brings us all together here, right now? What brings us together? It's not the Second Amendment. It wasn't hillbilly. It wasn't a sunny day. It wasn't a couple burgers. What brought us together here? What unites us? What makes us stand shoulder to shoulder when the chips are down and the cost is final and extreme?
Freedom.
Love of liberty. Freedom. If I ask you, sir, what's an American value? What's the thing that our country's built on? Give me an example. Somebody give me an example. Free speech. Our freedom. How do you touch that? How do you touch the idea of equal opportunity? You can't physically grab it. Hey, I've got a little freedom here. Should I toss you my freedom? You take your hand and you physically touch that beautiful red, white, and blue Star-Spangled Banner. You hold it and you keep it up. You light it at night. You keep it up off the ground. That is the physical embodiment of everything that connects us. We are fighting for, our forefathers have died for, and some of our kids and grandkids and great-grandchildren will hopefully be here to fight and defend. That is, yes, that is the symbol of our country, so a lot of people equate the government to that flag. No. Governments have come and gone. We have had different parties. We've swung wildly. That's not the exact same 50 star, but the American flag used to represent, Jim Crow and all these things. Whatever hotbed issue you want to piss on America with, that flag used to represent it. But I don't follow the flag in blind allegiance to the country, to the government. That flag is the embodiment, the tangible symbol, the rallying cry that when it falls, when a man is killed in battle, someone throws down his rifle to pick that flag up. That is the embodiment of what we hope America to be. America's a set of ideas. It's called the American experiment. It's a very fragile thing. You ever heard Reagan's quote? Liberty is not, I won't bore you with it. It's a great quote. That is the tangible way you can touch what we love so much. I don't fly any other flags. I fly the American flag. I understand people have their heritage, and I love it, and it's good to know your genealogy and know where you came from, but I'm not English American or French American. That's some of my heritage. I'm American! All of that language is dividing. When you hear somebody in the GOP or the Libertarians or whoever you want to vote for, or your neighbor or the guy they go shoot with, and they say some things that catch your ear, shut them down. Start a conversation. Educate them. Politics are downstream of culture. We see these politics now, and we see this freaking craziness because we have allowed it for too long. And this goes back to that time when it's very hard to really stand for values and freedom without getting those little red flag, get on the list. It's very hard to do. That's by its nature. There is a limit that we are coming to, and I believe we may be past it, or we're certainly up at it. That's an individual assessment for every single person to figure out what your breaking point is. But there is a point where we have no more essential liberty to give. The things that we are well, not us, I'm not bartering. The things that my representatives are bartering are the essential freedoms. I have nothing else to give to my government, to my state, to my town, that is not an essential freedom, an unalienable, God-given right that compensation can be attained to give. There is nothing left. So it's no more compromise for me. So Billy says, I'm done playing games. I don't know about you. Is the government going to take your guns? Somebody shake their head like they freaking mean it. Is the government going to take your guns? No. They're not going to take mine. I don't put any qualifiers on that. If giving this speech today puts me on some red flag law or some list and 20 people show up at my house to take my guns, then it's damn well time I stand and use the things, because freedom of speech is now being punished with a death sentence. We have marginalized and romanticized our founding and the conflict and the nature that it took to get us here. We romanticize our history, especially in New England, so much. Oh, let's go to the Old North Church. Let's do the Freedom Trail. The Paul Revere, Lexington. Do you know what happened? A bunch of people just like us said, you know what? We're done. No. Well, we're going to kill you. Let's do this. That's what happened. That is what happened. That's not me making it right. That is historical fact that people like to gloss over. It's no wonder we're not getting taught real damn history in schools. I pay 66% of my taxes to New Hampshire. It's for the schools. And I'll tell you what, if that was a commercial business, I'd stop buying the products. Because for what it costs me and what I think I get in return, it ain't there. My child will not spend one day in the school system. Not one. And you know what? Like I said, my situation living off grid, carting it out by hand, just in case the worst happens. That's not for everybody. I wish it was. And if everybody did do that, a lot of these problems would go away. Because if everybody had the farms back, and they weren't in Bill Gates' control, if everybody had the farms back, and they had multi-generational houses where everything was paid for, and they maybe could make 50% of their food, and they were raised with basic knowledge. I'm not talking everybody needs to be the next Survivor man, but basic crap. Here's how you put some tomato seeds in the ground, and here's how you can cut a piece of firewood to heat yourself if you're going to freeze to death. I'm talking basics. Like, did you get handed the keys to a car and not get told, hey, if your tire looks flat, you got to put a little air in it, and every once in a while you got to check the oil? Like, come on! And yet, we ship our freedoms and liberties down the road to Concord, or what's the capital again? I'm sorry. Yeah, Boston. I'm just so fired up, I didn't want to misspeak. To Boston. We ship them down the road. We take our essential freedoms, our most sacred, the ones that were given by God. Now, you don't have to be a Christian. There's a lot of Christian elements, and the pastor killed it. But these are also secular truths. Even if you're not a Christian, the fact that we were founded on a Christian, that Western Judeo-Christian values that gives you the secular rights that you have. But these rights that are your non-negotiables, we don't send them down to Concord or Boston and then just turn our head. You gotta watch them. My rights of freedom, if I want to go over and talk to this little old lady here drinking the Coke with the hat, I don't believe I know her. If I've met you, I'm sorry, I mean a lot of people. If I want to go talk to her, that's my right. And I'm not giving that up for anybody. Okay? We have nothing left to give. I talk about those rights like they're my own flesh and blood. And I did that before I even had kids. You're not going to take your 2-year-old and send them down to daycare and then never check on them for years. Yeah. I hope nobody here is doing that. There's probably people who are doing that. You don't ship your most precious things down the river and shut it off and forget about it. But that's what we've done with our rights, with our accountability for politicians, accountability for our state reps, the people who are running our towns.
Other than that, she's very talented.
We have to take accountability and treat these rights and these liberties and the things that we hold true and dear like they are our own flesh and blood. Because guess what? There's a lot of bloodstains on that flag that brought them here. There's a lot of powerful words that should choke you up if I start saying them. We had the Star-Spangled Banner. We had the Pledge of Allegiance. What are some other words I could say? And when I say them, when I hear them, I get choked up. I get brought to tears. It's going to be hard for me to say it to you now because I got two parts.
Coming from your perspective.
And Dave, I have two parts. I am 50% heartbroken to my core for my country, my fellow man, the generations that are coming. My heart is ripped in two at the shit show we have left that we now have to fix. I am heartbroken beyond the worst heartbreak you could have. The other 50% is I am pissed off and taking that emotion and putting it to productive action. That is what all this stuff is about. You don't come here, well, maybe you can come here, get in the raffle, and leave and go home. But you should come here to learn something from the lawyer, to learn something about a law that you didn't know was getting passed, or to get inspired and get fired up. You shouldn't come here to walk away with something. I'm going to say some words. What in the course of human events? Does that raise anybody's eyebrows? We hold these truths to be self-evident. What about some other ones that aren't in our founding documents, but are extremely good things to know? 407 years ago, our forefathers,
The cops were there.
these things should hit you in your core because they are the fundamental elements that make up the space that we inhabit, the space that our children, our great-grandchildren will hopefully inherit.
And then we were so close to the exit, we just
I'm going to leave you with this because I could rip for a whole lot more time. How will we know if anything we are doing now, here, any laws, any legislature, any politicians, any 2A movements, any freedom movements, how are we going to really know if anything we are doing, if our work, if the work of Hillbilly in his lifetime is successful? How will we know? How will you know if it's successful? Anybody? Do you think there's a metric we can measure it by? What thing would happen and you would go, yep, we won? How do you know if we won? Anybody? Free elections? Anybody else? I'll say this in closing. I believe this for all of you. We collectively, Americans, we will not know if we have won this ever. The real test of if we have won anything and it has not all been a waste and we are too far gone. The way we will know is if 4 or 5 generations from now, they are still here. They are still under that flag. They are still fighting for these rights. We will never know. I will go to my grave. My son will go to his grave. Not knowing if the work that we have done has been enough. Not knowing if the time and money and energy and passion and conversation that you share, not knowing if that was enough. How much would it suck if you went to your job or whatever you find to be most valuable, where you get your satisfaction, your passion, you make your money, or you feel good about it, the thing that you do that drives you to wake up and get out of bed every day. Imagine never ever knowing if every day was a waste and never getting to see any success for all of your efforts. But that is what we are up against. We are up against 4 and 5 generations from now. That will be the question. I will never know. You will not know. We can do our damnedest, we can hope, we can pray. That is where the meat will meet the cleaver. 4, 5, 6 generations from now. And somewhere down the line, maybe your name will be back in the Great Patriot Revival, back in the days of COVID. I remember great-grandfather was alive in the Depression era of 2025. You think I'm being facetious. You think I'm being rhetorical. Nothing I have said is rhetorical. I am literal. Someone will be the next Washington. Someone will be the next Franklin. Maybe it's you. But if you don't put your damn foot out the door and start beyond the echo chamber where we're all agreeing, we're not going to get anywhere. Because you need to leave this place where we're all in safety mode and we're all free. You need to go somewhere where you are challenged.
He's a modern day Sam Adams.
Damn right. That's what we got to do, guys. You have to. There's no other option. What is the option? Let it burn. If you're going to do that, you might as well just quit and leave now. If you're not willing to take this as far as it needs to go, what's a great movie, Boondock Saints, takes place in Boston. The question is not how far. It's, do you possess the Constitution to take it as far as it's needed? What will you do with it?